For more than a decade, one engine has stood at the center of America's truck and muscle car culture. Ford's 5.0 V8. You've probably heard its name before, the Coyote. This engine powers icons like the Ford Mustang and the best-selling pickup in America, the Ford F-150. It's loud, powerful, and instantly recognizable to anyone who loves cars. But behind that legendary sound, there's a question that has followed this engine for years. Did Ford really get the Coyote right? Or has the engine been hiding serious problems all along? Because while many drivers praise the Coyote for its incredible power and thrilling performance, others tell a very different story. Stories about engines burning oil. Stories about strange ticking noises. Stories about internal wear that shouldn't happen in a modern V8. And when millions of vehicles use the same engine, even small problems can turn into huge debates. Mechanics argue about it, owners argue about it. Entire internet forums are built around one simple question. Is the Ford Coyote V8 reliable or not? To understand the truth, we have to go back to the beginning. Back to 2011. That was the year Ford made a bold decision that surprised the entire auto industry. At the time, most manufacturers were moving towards smaller turbocharged engines. Even Ford itself was heavily promoting its new EcoBoost V6 lineup. Turbo engines were the future, or at least that's what everyone believed. But Ford wasn't ready to give up on the American V8. Instead, the company decided to build something different. A modern, naturally aspirated V8 that could deliver sports car performance while still surviving the brutal workload of a full-size truck. The result was the brand new 5.0-liter Coyote engine. And on paper, it looked incredible. It produced over 400 horsepower without turbochargers. It used advanced dual overhead camshafts, 4 valves per cylinder, variable cam timing, and a lightweight aluminum design. In other words, this wasn't an old-school truck motor. This was a high-tech performance engine built for the modern era. Early reviews were extremely positive. Automotive journalists called it one of the most ambitious, naturally aspirated V8 programs ever built for mass production. Drivers loved the power, they loved the sound, and they loved the fact that Ford had refused to abandon the V8. For a moment, it seemed like Ford had built the perfect engine. But that perfect reputation didn't last very long, because within a few years, some owners began noticing something strange. And what they discovered would spark one of the biggest reliability debates in modern engine history. At first, the reports were small, just a few owners mentioning unusual behavior from their engines. But slowly, the number of complaints started growing. Drivers began noticing that their Coyote engines were using more oil than expected. In many cases, it happened quietly between normal oil changes. Owners would check their dipstick and realize the oil level had dropped far more than it should have. For some drivers, the issue was minor, but for others, it became frustrating. Some owners reported needing to add oil regularly, even though their trucks or Mustangs had relatively low mileage. Naturally, this raised concerns. Oil consumption doesn't always mean an engine is failing, but it can signal deeper mechanical problems if it becomes excessive. Mechanics began investigating possible causes. Some suspected piston ring design. Others pointed to cylinder wall coatings. A few believed manufacturing tolerances could be responsible. There were even discussions about how the engine was broken in during its first few thousand miles. But oil consumption wasn't the only concern. Another strange symptom started appearing. Owners began hearing a distinct ticking sound coming from the engine. Sometimes it was faint. Other times it was noticeable enough to make drivers nervous. The sound quickly earned a nickname in online communities. People started calling it the Coyote tick. And once the internet gives something a name, the discussion spreads fast. Mustang forums filled with videos of engines ticking at idle. F-150 owners uploaded recordings asking if their trucks sounded normal. Mechanics debated whether the sound was harmless or a warning sign of something more serious. Some believed the noise came from the high-pressure fuel injectors. Others suspected valve train components. A few worried it might indicate internal wear. The truth was complicated. Not every Coyote engine had the problem. In fact, many ran perfectly smooth. But enough owners experienced unusual noises and oil consumption that the topic became impossible to ignore. By the late 2010s, the debate had exploded across the internet. YouTube mechanics, automotive journalists, and everyday drivers were all trying to answer the same question. Was the Coyote engine flawed? Or were people simply overreacting to normal engine behavior? The confusion only grew because the engine was used in so many vehicles. Millions of trucks and performance cars relied on it. That meant even a small percentage of issues could generate thousands of reports online. And once those stories began spreading, they created a powerful perception. Some drivers started believing the engine had a serious design flaw. Others insisted the complaints were exaggerated. But inside Ford, engineers were paying close attention. Because when an engine powers millions of vehicles, even small problems matter. And behind the scenes, the company had already started working on improvements, changes that would quietly reshape the future of the Coyote V8. And those changes were about to transform the engine in ways most drivers never noticed. Automakers rarely make big announcements when they improve an engine. Most of the time, the changes happen quietly. Small adjustments here, a revised component there. Over time, those improvements add up to a much better machine. That's exactly what Ford began doing with the Coyote V8. Behind the scenes, engineers started refining the engine in several key areas, focusing on the components that could influence oil control, durability, and long-term reliability. One of the most important areas was the cylinder walls. Early versions of the engine used a specialized coating process designed to reduce friction and improve efficiency. But engineers continued refining that technology to make it more durable and more consistent across production. Even tiny changes in cylinder coatings can dramatically affect how an engine handles oil and wear over thousands of miles. Another major focus was the piston rings. Piston rings play a critical role inside any engine. They seal the combustion chamber and help control how much oil stays on the cylinder walls. If the rings don't seal perfectly, oil can slip past them and enter the combustion chamber where it gets burned. So Ford engineers modified the ring design to improve sealing while still keeping friction low. Better sealing meant better oil control. But the improvements didn't stop there. Another component that received attention was the PCV system, short for positive crankcase ventilation. This system manages pressure inside the engine. If crankcase pressure isn't controlled properly, it can push oil vapor into areas where it doesn't belong. Updated PCV designs helped regulate that pressure more effectively and reduce unwanted oil movement inside the engine. Then there was the engine software. Modern engines rely heavily on electronic control systems to manage fuel delivery, ignition timing, and lubrication behavior. Ford updated the engine software calibration to improve combustion stability and help the engine manage oil flow more efficiently under different driving conditions. None of these changes sounded dramatic on their own, but together, they represented a careful effort to improve the engine's consistency and long-term durability. And then came the biggest upgrade yet, a major evolution of the Coyote platform. When Ford introduced the third-generation Coyote, the engine received one of its most significant redesigns. The most important addition was a dual fuel injection system. Instead of relying only on traditional port injection, the engine now used both port injection and direct injection. This system allowed much more precise fuel delivery. It improved combustion efficiency, it reduced carbon buildup, and it helped the engine produce even more power. In the Mustang, horsepower climbed dramatically, pushing past 460 horsepower in some versions. But the improvements weren't just about power. Engineers also refined cooling systems, lubrication pathways, and valve timing strategies. The goal wasn't just to make the Coyote faster. The goal was to make it stronger, smoother, and more reliable than ever before. And according to many mechanics, those upgrades were starting to make a real difference. But the biggest test for any engine doesn't happen in a laboratory. It happens out on the road. When it comes to engine reliability, few opinions matter more than the people who repair them. Independent mechanics see vehicles long after warranties expire. They see the engines that survive for hundreds of thousands of miles and the ones that don't. And when many mechanics started looking at the newer generations of the Coyote engine, something interesting appeared. The complaints were becoming less common. Compared to earlier versions, many shops began reporting fewer cases of unusual oil consumption. The ticking noises that once worried so many owners also appeared less frequently. That doesn't mean every engine is perfect, but overall the trend looked better. In fact, many Ford specialists now regularly see Coyote engines surpass 200,000 miles with proper maintenance. For a modern high-performance V8, that's a very respectable lifespan. Part of the reason lies in the engine's basic structure. Underneath its advanced technology, the Coyote has an extremely strong foundation. Experienced engine builders often describe the engine's bottom end, the block, crankshaft, and rotating assembly, as incredibly durable. Some performance tuners have even pushed these engines far beyond their factory power levels. With the right modifications and careful tuning, heavily upgraded Coyotes have produced enormous horsepower while still maintaining reliability. That kind of strength explains why the engine has become so popular in racing, aftermarket builds, and performance projects. But even with these improvements, the controversy hasn't disappeared completely. Some drivers still worry about the engine. Part of the reason is simple. Older Coyote engines are still on the road. Many of the complaints circulating online today come from earlier production years when the design was still being refined. Another factor is that modern engines behave differently than older ones. Today's engines operate with extremely tight tolerances and advanced technology designed to improve efficiency and reduce emissions. Because of that, certain characteristics can surprise drivers who are used to older V8 designs. For example, many modern engines consume small amounts of oil as part of normal operation. Direct injection systems can also introduce new maintenance considerations, and lightweight internal components may produce sounds that weren't common in older engines. Sometimes those sounds are completely normal, but when drivers hear unfamiliar noises, it's easy to assume something is wrong. The internet can make that fear grow quickly. Online forums and social media tend to amplify worst-case scenarios. A few highly visible engine failures can create the impression that a widespread problem exists, even when millions of engines are operating perfectly. That's why many experts emphasize something that often gets overlooked in reliability debates: maintenance. Because even the best engine design in the world depends on how well it's taken care of. And for modern engines like the Coyote, proper maintenance can make a huge difference in how long they last. When experts talk about engine reliability, one factor comes up again and again: maintenance. Modern engines are incredibly advanced machines, but they also require consistent care if they're going to last, and the Coyote V8 is no exception. Mechanics who regularly work on Ford trucks and Mustangs say that many long-lasting Coyote engines share one thing in common: their owners follow proper maintenance schedules. That means using the correct oil viscosity recommended by Ford, changing the oil at the proper intervals, checking oil levels regularly, and allowing the engine to warm up before aggressive driving. Skipping these basic steps can accelerate wear in any modern engine, no matter how well it was designed. Fleet mechanics often provide a perfect real-world example. Work trucks that follow strict maintenance schedules frequently last longer than performance cars driven aggressively. According to many fleet technicians, consistent servicing makes a huge difference in long-term engine durability. But maintenance isn't the only factor that shapes the Coyote's reputation. Competition also plays a role. Ford's 5.0 liter V8 competes directly with other well-known truck engines. General Motors offers a powerful 6.2 liter V8 in trucks like the Chevrolet Silverado. Ram trucks use the famous Hemi V8, known for its distinctive sound and simple pushrod design. Each engine has its strengths. GM's engine is known for strong low-end torque. The Hemi is praised for its classic design and unmistakable rumble. But Ford's Coyote stands apart in one important way. It behaves more like a performance engine than a traditional truck motor. Its dual overhead camshaft design allows it to rev higher and produce impressive horsepower without relying on turbochargers. That performance advantage is one reason Ford continues investing in the engine, even as the automotive world moves toward electrification. And there's another reason: customer demand. Truck buyers across America still love naturally aspirated V8 engines. They appreciate the immediate throttle response. They trust the long-term reliability of a simple, naturally aspirated design. And for Mustang enthusiasts, the emotional appeal is impossible to ignore. The sound of a V8 roaring to life is something electric motors simply can't replace. Looking ahead, the future of large gasoline engines is uncertain. Stricter emissions regulations are pushing automakers toward hybrid and electric technology, but many engineers believe the Coyote platform still has room to evolve. Future versions could combine electric assistance with traditional V8 power, improving efficiency without sacrificing performance. So after years of debate, what's the final verdict? Most experts now agree on a balanced conclusion. The early versions of the Coyote engine did experience some issues, but the engine was never fundamentally flawed. Through multiple generations of engineering updates, Ford refined the design significantly. Stronger internal components, improved cylinder coatings, better piston ring sealing, advanced fuel injection systems, and improved lubrication control. All of these upgrades have helped address the concerns that once surrounded the engine. No engine is perfect, but today's Coyote V8 appears to deliver exactly what Ford originally promised: a powerful, durable, modern V8 built for both performance and hard work. And if the latest generation continues proving itself on the road, the Coyote may ultimately be remembered as one of the most respected American engines of the modern era.